I'd like to welcome you back. Today we're going to talk about creating mounts for camera systems for when you're out in the field and you want to take unique shots. Over the last little bit, I've needed mounts that I haven't been able to find anywhere. So it made me think of something different. And as I was kind of looking for those problems or solutions for my problems, I came across a epiphany. And that is most mounts that you have for your tripods, or the really nice ones like right here, these mounts, the screw right here, that actually fixes to your camera, it's a 1/4-20 thread. Any standard bolt will work as long as it's a 1/4-20 thread. That was my epiphany. Once I realized that, I knew that I could pretty much make anything I would ever need. So we were doing a shot where we were attaching things to vehicles and we didn't actually want to glue a mount or something like that to a vehicle. So we came up with this magnetic one. All it is a magnet with a long bolt that goes through the center of it, and then a coupling nut at the end. And then we cut the nut off so that it would sit against our camera. Now these work great for those sports cameras because they're lightweight. You can put them anywhere. So depending on what you wanted to do, if you were pranking someone, you could hide a sports camera on the side of a fridge. Anything that's magnetic, you can just attach this mount, and there you go. We were doing stuff out in a forested area. I didn't want to damage any trees. You could screw a bolt into a tree and you'd have your mount, but I didn't want to damage any trees. So we came up with this one. This is a swivel mount that came off of a really inexpensive tripod that comes with a lot of cameras. We cut a slot through the basal end of the swivel mount that was large enough to be able to fit a reusable zip tie. Now that gives me a mount that I can adhere to any limb or tree trunk, but I'm limited to the size of the zip tie. Well, if anybody's used zip ties, you've probably attached 2 or more together. So that has increased the diameter of the trees or poles that I can affix my camera to. Now these are all just cheap ideas, redneck ideas for getting the job done in a pinch. We were doing, keeping on with that main theme, we were doing a lot of water work with a whitewater kayaking class, and they wanted to have pictures, video of their class participants inside of a swimming pool, but they wanted those really close up where you're going underwater, coming above water to see what's going on so they can see their mistakes that they were doing and try to correct them, and also for publication so they can get more students enrolled in their class. Well, you know that a lot of the sports cameras, they don't float very well. You can purchase a little handheld, essentially a bladder for your cameras, but that got me thinking, it's like, well, it's just a bladder. Anything that would hold air would work. I'm needing to use a boom of some sort to be able to get above these kayakers as they're going through their exercises. So we came up with another idea. Well, what if I were just to seal some PVC into a boom, because it's going to hold air. It will now float. It's easy to use. Okay, I don't lose a whole lot of grip. I can get out over my participants, my subject that I'm photographing. And since I know the bolt thread, which is a 1/4-20, I can adhere it, screw it directly right into the cap. I just drill a hole and screw it in. You don't have to tap it or anything. You just screw it in. It's plastic, right? So So this is a 1-inch piece of PVC that has a 1-inch cap at the end. And on this side, we have a coupling with a reducer. So it goes from, it's a slip by thread coupler that goes from 1 inch to 3/4. We have here is just a 3/4 inch plug, threaded plug, that has the 1/4 20-inch bolt threaded to the bottom of it. Sorry, excuse me. It now can screw into our pole, our boom pole. It's now essentially watertight. It will float forever. We've actually hung stuff off of that and had this in the water, and it kind of gives a motion. It was a great tool for the time. But one thing I found purely by accident, was not intended, but it was beneficial nonetheless, is that this piece will actually thread onto many other poles. This happens to be a broom handle, okay, like a shop broom handle, and it threads right on the end. So I now have a larger boom if needed to. Got me thinking, if it will do it to a broom handle, how about a painter's telescopic extension? And sure enough, it threads right on the end. So if you need to have something where you have to get high up, if you're photographing wildlife up in a tree, this would allow you, this particular one is 15 feet. So I can raise up another 15 feet into the air, get really close to my subject for really inexpensive. And these poles you can get at a lot of pawn shops for just a couple bucks. If that's out of your price range, you can use PVC poles. Those 1-inch poles, they come in 10-foot lengths, put 2 of them together. It's a little wobbly, but it can be done. This right here, the magical piece, it literally is under $2. So you've got, what, 50 cents into a bolt, maximum, and another 50 cents into the cap itself. Very inexpensive, but a wonderful tool. Okay, so that was one of the things that was just, these two are kind of a godsend. We were working on other stuff, and I actually broke a tripod, but not wanting to throw anything away, and I love repurposing things whenever possible. I took it apart and found out that the base of this was a 1/4 20 thread. So now it allows me to have a swivel on any mount that I want it to. It's also a quick release swivel. So you have it on your camera, you set everything up, get ready to go, pop it in, and you're ready to go. It goes well. We had, I was actually doing a time-lapse photography for a pest abatement district that was wanting to see what the effects of their pesticide was on beneficials, primarily bees. And so we had to leave something at fixed for a long period of time. This was a several week study. So I need my tripods and other things like that. So I need to come up with a different idea to be able to do this long, make sure that I put my camera in the exact same spot every time. So what are we going to do there? Either I can mark where my tripod goes, but then is the tripod height different? I came up with this. And all this is a couple pieces of EMT that we pulled out of the trash at a construction site. Put a 1/4 20-inch bolt with a nut. Okay, no drilling. And a 1 3/8 inch hose clamp. So this, again, because we're repurposing, it was under $1. And we were able to screw that right down to the base, so that way the tripod never moved for our time lapse. It got me thinking, okay, what else is there out there that we need to have around us when we're shooting? lights. And you're wanting different angles. Well, the hot mount on these lighting is also a 1/4 20-inch bolt. So you can affix your lighting to a pole and get the right lighting from the right angle depending on what you're wanting. Now, one of the problems I ran into was that our boom mic it just had the hot mount, but that was it. But knowing that I have a 1/4 inch 20 thread will fit into anything. Well, there's several holes down here on the bottom of your boom mics, typically. And what they allow you to do is to stick a screwdriver in here so you can actually take your boom mic off of the mount if there's a problem, if you need to replace the mount, or if there's a problem with the boom. But it's large enough for a 1/4 20 bolt, 1/4 inch bolt. So just using a threaded bolt, a threaded screw, put it in from the top, put the coupling nut that we kind of used for this one, okay? You cut it down to where it fit just underneath the hot mounting. So when we slide it onto a camera, it doesn't affect that, but it gives us now a way of adhering for very inexpensive our boom mic to a mount. So now this is if you want to go directly below. If you had to have an angle to it, we're just going to add things here. We'll take our swivel mount, add it to it. And now we have a boom mic that we can put in any direction. So if we wanted to get out and capture the sound of something that was over some water, some birds, we can actually penetrate through the tules and brush and get close to our subject. That's pretty intrusive. If we're going over somebody for a commercial, happen to be shooting a commercial, we can go directly over them at an angle, or even come straight down. Really quick mount. Now, a lot of this was repurposed. We had a tripod mount that broke, which gave us the swivel. The magic adapter, under $1. So you can see how all of this for I think I spent less than $10 and achieved 7 to 8 different mounting ways for capturing our imagery. It's really simple, and most cameras have that at the bottom, that 1/4 inch 20 thread. The high expensive end cameras, the ones that we're shooting on today, or the really inexpensive ones that are just a point and shoots. All of the sports cameras, waterproof sports cameras, like your GoPros, they have a 1/4 20-inch mount. So with these two guys, for under $10, we've solved almost every single problem that we'll ever run into in the field. They're very inexpensive. I don't know if the people who are making the nice tripods that cost upwards to $100 are going to be really happy with this, but as a part-time cinematographer, I happen to love it. I hope this was helpful to you, and I would invite you to come back and see some of our other videos. Thank you for watching.